So the big tax question is this: how do wealthy people keep their money working for them when selling their business, real estate, or other highly appreciated assets without paying hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in tax? What if we, as business and real estate owners who have poured blood, sweat, and tears to growing our wealth, and who didn't hire expensive tax attorneys and CPAs to map out an exit strategy, knew their secrets? Instead of recreating the wheel, why can't we just model the way they deferred 30 to 50% in tax, paid off debt, funded their next business dream, and most importantly, leave a financial legacy to give to the causes we believe in most? What if their secrets weren't complicated at all, and you just need a guide who is a few steps ahead of you? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Brett Swarts, and welcome to Capital Gains Tax Solutions. Welcome to the Built to Billions podcast, where we guide successful entrepreneurs and investors on their journey from millions to billions. We believe the key to scaling and compounding your wealth and life starts every single day with the mindset and practice of stewardship over ownership and applying billionaire biblical principles. Our ultimate goal is to help you scale and compound your wealth and life so you can give more all of it away for MVPs, most vulnerable people. Hey, I'm excited about our next guest today. He's out of the great state of tax reform to California. He's in SoCal, in the Orange County area. He has a tremendous background in 1031 exchanges, Delaware statutory trust, and structuring and figuring out ways to help people build and maximize their wealth through the trading of investment real estate properties. He's got a really cool background. He went to San Diego State. Fun fact, my wife went to San Diego State. I played basketball down in Point Loma, so we have a San Diego connection there too. And he's going to, we're going to talk about the 1031 in today's world. He also has a tenure with Cantor Fitzgerald. I mean, this is huge. Next Point Advisors, Capital Square Advisors. He's been involved in the acquisitions, finance, due diligence, underwriting, product structuring, syndication, and sales management. So just a tremendous background. He's securities licensed and so much more. Please welcome to the show with me, managing partner of Perch Wealth, Ben Carmona. Ben, how we doing?
Hey, Brett, what an intro. I love it. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. And for our listeners, get to know you for the first time, you tell them a little bit about your story and your current focus.
So I grew up born and raised in Southern California. I grew up in Westlake Village, Agora Hills, Thousand Oaks area. Went to school down in San Diego State. Graduated or majored in finance with emphasis in real estate, and really, I've always, since a very young age, I was kind of brought up in a real estate investment type of family. So unlike so many people that don't really know what they want to do, right? Even when they're graduating college, like I knew what I wanted to do. I didn't know where I'd land. Anyway, so I've been in Orange County for almost 20 years now. And out of school, I found myself into the financial services world, but really in a niche part of it, right? I mean, I'm securities licensed. I'm a financial advisor by trade, but I don't do stocks and bonds and mutual funds and insurance and annuities. All I do is real estate, private real estate, syndications. And prior to starting Perch Wealth almost 5 years ago, acting as an advisor, helping accredited or high net worth clients with their real estate needs, primarily 1031 exchanges. I spent 15 years on the syndication side. So all of the investments that I now recommend to investors, I used to build them, right? Acquiring the real estate, doing the due diligence, the underwriting, training and educating financial advisors and wealth managers nationwide, which I am today. So I am intimately familiar with this space in every aspect of it. And the last thing I'll say, I'll take a pause, Brett, is I'll take a pause there.
Yeah, it's awesome. Ben, that's an amazing background. By the way, not many have what you have, that ability to, for acquisition, syndication, 1031 exchanges, and then the securities part and building, finance, all of that. You know what I really think it is? It's a real estate investment advisor. Right? The traditional world is securities more, and by that I mean stocks, bonds, mutual funds. We know them as financial advisors. And then Tony Robbins just came out with a book, by the way, and it talked about the performance in the last 35 years of like private equity or private real estate, basically, versus the traditional, they call it, and us as the alternative. And I think this is a unique thing to start out with, Ben, right? Because I think too often the traditional mindset is, oh, the real estate is the alternative. And you're like, well, actually, if you look at the performance, maybe the other one should be the alternative. So walk us through a little bit of your mindset when it comes to investing. And I love the way that you put that you really focus on real estate, not the other ones.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. You teed me up perfectly. Look, you said it. I'll just take the audience back to 2008. Right, and in the spirit of the traditional model, right, the portfolio model, which is what is it? 60% equities, 40% bonds, have some cash,
Yeah.
And in 2008, when the crisis happened, the folks that did everything right, they had their 60%, then they had their 40%, they had some cash, they had some real estate, they had some savings, they felt good. Well, that traditional model broke because everybody that did everything right, according to the experts, were in deep trouble. Not thinking they were ever going to come back, and thank God, for the most part, we've come back. But so you look at that, and you go, okay, well, if the traditional model, and I followed it, if it didn't work for me, what works? And then, well, let me look at who did well during that time. Who did well? And of course, it's the endowments, it's the big boys, the institutions. And you go, okay, well, if they did well, what were they doing? Well, those folks had allocated, and still to this day, have allocated 30, 40, 50, 60% of their holdings to what you would broadly say alternative investments, right? And alternative investments, as Brett stated, are anything outside of the mainstream, stocks and bonds, mutual funds, and whatnot. And so, there you are, Brett. That's where we are today. And I've been fortunate enough and blessed that I'm in this space. And yes, I started in the basement as a spring chicken, but I've seen this evolve. And here we are, all the folks in 2008, my parents, your parents, that are back for the most part, right? Real estate's back up, bonds are up, equities are up, and they're older, right? They're 15, 16, 17 years older. And now they can't afford another 2008, right? And the majority of these folks are still over allocated in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, right? And so what do you do today to reduce risk and potentially avoid another 2008? You want to de-risk, right? You want to increase your passive income. You want to reduce volatility. And that's where we both operate, Brett, in the alternative investment universe. And it's never been more critical or important than today for our clients to diversify. You're on mute.
Couldn't agree with you more. Like, I literally, I'm so glad we met. Like, you never know you're going to be on this podcast. Our team spoke at. And I feel like we're cut from the same cloth bin. At one point, it was Series 22, Series 63, done Delawares, and we refer that out now because we gave those licenses up with the security person to do that. We have to solve some debt over basis challenges that a traditional strategy, one of our strategies that we use that's not traditional. It's kind of it's kind of a niche. It's called the Deferred Sales Trust, right? But we basically build capital gains tax exit plans to multiply freedom and impact, which really means increase the ability for people to have truly passive income, to do the things they want to do, to have leverage over their time and their energy to buy and sell when it makes sense, right? And so this is when sometimes it's the traditional 1031. Sometimes we're doing into syndications where you get 100% bonus depreciation with the new Trump tax plan that just passed. Sometimes it's the Delaware because we can take the debt and get it out of our name and get it with an Amazon warehouse or a FedEx office building. But more than often, it's about what are they trying to achieve, right? And I think you nailed it, passive income. Because if you don't have durable, consistent passive income, to me, that's the big domino. If you don't have that, then the rest of it doesn't matter that much. But if you do have it, if it's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 a month, whatever it is for you, that truly passive income, we believe, is to your freedom and impact as compounding interest is to your money. And too often, people, and all of us, I feel even kind of as a part of this until I've really been studying and trying to practice this, it's like we get so focused on building the net worth or building the thing, but really what gives us that time and that freedom is that passive income. And the second part of that, it's something I can truly understand, right? Like mobile home park, multifamily property, or even like doing a lot of real estate debt stuff right now, where it's so safe, right? And it's so durable. Right. Now, I will say, I'll push back a little bit. I'm curious what you're thinking, because I know there's folks who bought in the 2021, 2022, especially the multifamily syndication space. I call it the year of the jujitsu tap out. Right. And they're just like, oh, okay, interest rates aren't going where I thought they'd go. Survive until 25 is gone. And they're like, my arm is going to break, and they just tap out and they're just giving the keys back to the bank. So walk us through a little bit of what you're seeing with that. And then maybe we can geek out a little bit about, different tax strategies to help people. Yeah,
for sure. So on that front, look, multifamily, and I'm speaking broadly, broadly speaking, multifamily's been, the market has been, aside from interest rates going up, you may have an adjustable mortgage, but multifamily by and large has been saturated nationwide. And that's a function of, frankly, low interest rate environment over 10 years, right? It was a feeding frenzy for developers to just, it was free money. They were just crushing it, and they were building and building and building. And a lot of the major part or the last part of that massive inflow of new inventory or new supply, new developments, really peaked at the end of 2000 last year. At the end of last year, and markets are cyclical, of course. But so if this was the question, Brett, I hope I'm answering. If you can hold on to your multifamily, right? You may be struggling, you may not be making income, you may be barely scraping by. If you can hold on, that excess inventory is going to be gobbled up. It's being gobbled up right now, and it will continue to get gobbled up, because I'll tell you that when interest rates were low, of course, as I said, massive building. Now that they're high, along with construction costs, the pipeline of new inventory developments has come to, not a halt, but it is slowed significantly. And just by way of population growth or the demographics, the millennials and all these other demographic groups coming through the system, the excess inventory will absolutely get gobbled up. I think by the end of, maybe mid 2026, it's going to be a landlord's market again. So if you can hold, I would hold. Now, you may be in a position, Brett, your clients that, you're tired, right? And that's a lot of my clients, a lot of your clients. You're just tired. You don't care. You don't need to hold, right? I always say, if you're already rich, you don't need to get more rich. You need to stay rich and get that passive income. And so it may be a great time. It doesn't really matter. You make a little bit more, make a little bit less. Who cares? You just want to get out of it, improve the quality of your life, and not to deal with this headache.
Oh, it's so good. I think that's spot on. I couldn't agree with you more. Right. If you're rich, stay rich and get passive income. We call that truly passive income. I couldn't agree with you more. The right quadrant of the rich dad, poor dad, right? Most people never get to that right quadrant, and they're trading what's profitable for what's priceless. Right. And so that could be more time with their family, their kids, or building their family mission, vision, values, and their legacy for their kids, and passing of the wealth. Or it could be the travel they've always wanted to do, or that new business they wanted to do, or whatever it might be for you. Like, what is that season for you? And don't trade what's profitable for what's priceless, especially being in California. Like, I grew up there, and it's crazy. Like, owning and doing business in California 20, 30 years ago, man, they wanted you to be there, man. They wanted you to be that landlord. They were like cheering you on, maybe it's 40 years ago now. It's been a long time. I grew up developing houses in the Bay Area with my dad, and my dad goes, Brett, I would never, ever start a business in California, knowing what in this today's environment. He's just like, I couldn't have the patience for it, And so there's a part of that. So here, I have a couple thoughts for you. And this is part of why I do what I do now, Ben, is we found that you're right. You can hold on. But the challenge with holding on is kind of what you said, right? Are you trading what's profitable for what's priceless? And are you unlocking the freedom you want right now? And even just strategically, is there a way to sell high and buy low, all tax deferred without using a 1031 exchange? And this is what we kind of feel like we cracked the code. So I want to give you back to a deal story, okay? It's a client named Steve. Steve's got 2 sons, his wife. He's at the big house. This is in Roseville, California. He's got this big old huge house. He has 50 million worth of apartment complexes. He's done multiple 1031 exchanges. He buys these value add deals, fixes them up. All the dream, the American dream, right? He started out as like a real estate agent, and then he just moved his way up. And we're like, dude, how do I get to the other side with Steve? I sit down with Steve in 2007, and we're like, Steve, your stuff is like kind of at a peak right now, right? It's early 07. Like, maybe you should sell and basically get out of, do some stuff. But we didn't have a great solution for him. He's like, Brett, if I do a 1031, I have to do equal or greater value. And that means also equal or greater debt. And he goes, I think we're at the top of the market. And he goes, on top of that, I don't even know that I could afford if I exchange because I'm 80% LTV leveraged, right? I'm leveraged a bunch. So within the next 3 years, man, we saw him lose all of his wealth, go bankrupt, lose his marriage. Now he's not spending time with his sons and his kids. Now, growing up, I was in a similar situation. My parents got divorced when I was young. We had all the wealth and real estate and all the stuff. Parents get divorced. Now I'm only spending like 10, 15% with my dad, 85. So the family gets split. And I can't help but think about like if he had a solution to get him out of the debt, get him diversified, free up his time. So this is where we jumped on to this strategy, which I think most people in your world actually, they miss it. This deferred sales trust is not so that you can trade real estate into securities. It's actually you trade real estate into other real estate. You don't even have to go into securities. Right. And so, for example, we sold a $13 million property in San Diego for a client. This is about 3 years ago, right before interest went up. We got him out of debt, diversified, and watch this. We put him into real estate debt, tax deferred, which in a 1031, you can't do that. Right. We're making 10+%, never lost a dollar. These are like 55% LTV deals. Right. And they're waiting for the real estate market to shift, which we're finally seeing now. They're buying at a discount. We also bought into some hotel syndications at the time, had really dropped, and we got some good deals on that. We even bought some Bitcoin with this trust at 40,000 a coin, which is now over 120 or so a coin. And you look at this and you go, well, can they go back into real estate? And the answer is, yeah, they can. Yeah. All tax deferred. And so I'm curious, when you hear that, and I think you've heard a little bit about the deferred sales trust in the past, like what comes to mind? Because in my world, you can have your cake and eat it too. You can sell high, buy low, right? And you can get in and out of real estate, either passive real estate or even active if you want to be with the strategy. But most people don't know about it, or they think it's too good to be true, or they, or whatever. But I'm like, man, we're doing them. We just closed that $8 million in Palo Alto, $13 million in San Diego. Right. We just did $8 million in Massachusetts. Right. I'm curious, but what comes to mind when you hear this, Ben?
Deferred sales trust? Yeah, I mean, Deferred Sales Trust, like Delaware Statutory Trust, and of course they had to confuse everybody, right? With DST, DS, same acronym, it's just insane. But no, look, Delaware Deferred Sales Trust, it's a powerful tool for so many, right? If you're, especially if you are, I'd say, real estate, asset rich and cash poor, right? And you could do a combination of the two, of course, DST. Mm-hmm. But if you're asset rich and cash poor, it as you said, Brett, it gives you the opportunity to do a lot of different things, right? It is not just real estate. You can go to Bitcoin and private equity and real estate, all the whole basket, which is so powerful for so many families. So I love it. It's grown in popularity. As I said on the front end, I am not an expert in it. I think you are. Yeah. But no, I think it's all about, as you said, it's all about understanding the client's problem or issue and solving for it. And the deferred sales trust makes sense for a lot of folks. And last thing I'll say is it caters, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Brett, it caters to non-investment property as well.
Correct. 100%. Yeah, spot on. And if you want to learn more about this, go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to get started on a deferred sales trust plan. Yeah, so it caters to not only real estate sales, and it can save a failing 1031, or kind of like you said, it can complement a 1031. We can do a partial Delaware 1031, a partial regular 1031, and a partial deferred sales trust. We did that for a client named Craig out of Texas on a $6 million 1031 exit. So you can do a mix, and that's a cool thing too to be able to do. But it also works for business sales, whereas a 1031 does not. It works for Bitcoin sales, which a 1031 does not. Works for primary home sales, which a 1031 does not, unless you do, move out and then 2 years establish it, kind of do that kind of thing. Yep. So yeah, we've done it we're the first to do it for Bitcoin, a $5 million Bitcoin exit out of San Jose, California. Yep. In fact, she bought it for 50,000, went to 50 million. But back to your point, it can invest into any investment. So it can go into passive Reg D, syndications, right? Passive Reg D real estate funds. It can go into the stocks, bonds, mutual funds. You can diversify. So you can build these wealth plans. Now, there's some downsides in some sense, right? There's a third-party unrelated trustee. We're kind of like a third-party qualified intermediary, except we're longer term, right? You got to give up some controls, right? As a trustee, that's our role here at Capital Gains Tax Solutions. We have to approve the investments, but guess what? We can kind of pre-decide what those are going to be together before anything moves, right? And then next, there's ongoing fees versus the 1031, which is much less expensive because it's just a one-time thing, right? So all of these things are a part of it. But if you look at the overall thing, what matters the most is what we ask the question, right? There's a lot of things that matter. We know that capital gains tax is the problem. But Mr. Seller, where it matters the most, what we're seeing with the demographic changes, these 10,000 baby boomers turning 65 every single day, about 100 trillion is going to transfer in the next 15 years, the largest wealth transfer in the history of the planet. 50% of all net worth is tied into high-end primary homes, commercial real estate, and private equity. That's 50% of all the net worth in America. And you see this and you go, well, what matters most to this client demographic? And like you said, a lot of them are real estate rich, business rich, but their time and their energy is getting pulled. On top of that, their cash flow is light or poor, and they're going, what am I doing here? Am I just going to wait for the die and get the stepped up basis? Right. And you're like, well, what if I could just sell and diversify and get the cash flow now? The last one I'll leave with you, especially because you're in Orange County, is that most people overlook this, the death tax. The death tax or the estate tax, now it's $30 million with the new Trump tax plan. Well, the 1031 doesn't solve for that. It gives you a stepped up basis for cap gains tax. It gives your kids that, but it doesn't get it outside your taxable estate. So we had a client, we're $25 million in real estate. We did a $5 million multifamily property out of Colorado. And on the sale, we moved it into what's called our 2.0 version, which got it outside of the taxable estate. Why? Because their net worth, they're about 60, it's probably gonna be worth 50 million by the time at least, or more when they pass, right? So they're looking at long-term 40%, get that out forever, versus just a stepped up basis, which the 1031 is limited to that. So I'll pause there, get it back to you. But what are your thoughts when you hear that, or anything you want to point out?
Yeah. No, everything you said was spot on. I will say, and I do this every day. I would say 8 out of 10 my clients or investors or prospects that we talk to, they've owned the real estate for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And they are, those, the vast majority, again, 8 out of 10, maybe even 9 out of 10, the income or the cash flow that they're earning today relative to what the property value is horrible. And, I would say 1 to 3% on average, right? So again, for the audience, and you may already follow me, but if you bought a property 30 years ago and you may be getting a 10 cap, right? You're at 10% income. Well, today, many clients, they're interested in keeping they're keeping the tenants, right? They're not ratcheting up rent. They're like, oh, it's a good payer. I love him. He doesn't call me. I'm keeping the income, right? We're never going to raise the rent. Well, the values have gone significantly up. So 8 out of 10 clients are earning 1 to 3%, even in a 20 or 25% decline in real estate values, they're earning 1 to 3% income. And then those same folks have fully depreciated their assets, right? So, and if you're in California, we're national, but wherever you are, 1 to 3%, you have no more depreciation or sheltering. So, you're getting fully taxed at ordinary income rates on a very little amount of income that you're earning anyway. So whether, Brett through the Deferred Sales Trust or Delaware Statutory Trust, I'm confusing myself now, or there's just so much opportunity to unlock for folks out there, and they don't know. They don't know. Okay. So we can, as Brett alluded to, create this sale event, which number one, is going to defer your taxes. Number two, it's going to relieve you, hopefully, of your management responsibilities, and frankly, that may be number one for some folks. But then more than likely, we can increase your income and add back even cost base, depreciable cost base. There's just so many things we can do to help, and they're widely unknown. And that's why I love my job. I can already tell. I just met
Yeah.
Brett. He loves his job. We can make a difference. We can help people and increase income and improve their lifestyle and reduce the tenant calls. All these different things we can do. So that's what I'll.
Absolutely. And by the way, speaking with Mr. Ben Carmona, and you can find him by going to perchwealth.com, perch wealth.com. Yeah, again, I feel like we're your brother from the second mother, Mr. Ben, and it's really meaningful, I can tell, for you and for me and for helping people in real estate, especially in California, all the things. And I'll add a couple things. What you said, we say around here is really three mindsets, or a mistake. Number one mistake people make is they only have a singular mindset. It's all about cash flow. Now, it's definitely all about cash flow, but it's also all about tax flow. In fact, we have a shirt here that says tax flow, not just cash flow. Okay. And the last one is debt flow. We took it for granted, and people are getting, hurt right now. They're called the jujitsu tap out again, right? Interest is going to be low forever. Wow. Well, no, not so fast, right? So these three things, we call this investing with a 3D mindset, right? Ray Dalio says pain plus reflection equals progress, right? Ray Dalio, one of the smartest guys on wealth and building wealth. Pain plus reflection equals progress. So what did we learn in the 2008 crash, and what are we learning right now? Those who have too much debt, not enough liquidity, not enough diversification, not enough depreciation to offset cash flow, i.e. tax flow. Tax flow is a good thing when you can offset it, right? It's kind of a play on words there. So what do you got to do? Well, you got to, and also the ROE, the return on equity, you're right, 1 to 3%. It's terrible, right? So you've got to figure out ways to reset depreciation. You've got to figure out ways to get debt in your favor, right? You've got to figure out ways to increase cash flow. You got to figure out even ways to get asset protection, where you can get, people from having to, for creditors and stuff. And then I think the biggest thing is the ROI, and we call it not just the return on investment, but the return on impact, right? And even the ROT, the return on time, okay? And you start adding these things together, and you go, what's really meaningful for you, Mr. Seller? And what if there was a way to figure out, to help you build a plan with a team like a Ben Carmona and Brett Swarts, where we can help you diversify. We can help you get you what you really want, but it's probably more time back and less headaches with properties, but also increase your cash flow. And this is the cool one I think you're going to catch here. Depreciation is so important, but the problem with the 1031 exchange, one of the downsides is when you trade, the old basis travels. Now, it doesn't mean you don't get more basis on the next purchase. That can happen for sure, right? But the old basis travels. And so check this out. Let's imagine Ben had a 400 unit apartment complex in Orange County that he was syndicating for, right? He got it on sale because the market's gone down. It has a fresh depreciation schedule, right? If someone were to trade into that, they're going to get a portion of that depreciation schedule, but the other portion they cannot, because it's the old schedule, right? And our strategy, we stop them in a deferred sales trust to start, and we get out of the 1031 loop altogether. But immediately they can put money into an LLC bin, and that LLC has a fresh depreciation schedule. It can go in with your deal, and it's almost like an accelerated, stepped up basis in a way, okay? So there's some nuances there, and there's some limitations for sure, right? The way that we structure it and such. But I just want people to catch that you don't have to stay in the current plan. And sometimes the current advisor who just doesn't know, he means well. Even Ben, I think, is learning some stuff today, right, on what we can do. You can change the game for you and your family, and the ROT, the ROI, and we would say don't trade what's profitable for what's priceless, and build a team to help you execute that. If people want to learn more about that, go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Ben, let's keep going here. So the big beautiful bill came out. You also have this other cool strategy where you have 100% bonus depreciation, right? We call this you call it the lazy man 1031, where you just sell in the given year. Talk to us about it. No 1031, and maybe go into like a syndicated deal. Like, walk us through what the lazy man 1031 is, and the 100% bonus depreciation, and how it could help someone out today.
I love it. I'm picking up some one-liners from you. I love Lazy man 1031. I assume that's a. I mean, you're referring to like the syndicated passive stuff.
Yeah, you just don't do a 1031 and then you jump it into a syndication and then you get 100% bonus depreciation and you don't even need a 1031. Yeah.
Okay, got it. That path. Well, I will say on the, my mind's spinning, I'm going in 1,000 different directions, but I mean, bonus depreciation, as you said, is huge, right? I mean, bonus depreciation, aka accelerated depreciation or cost seg, whatever you call it. In the big, beautiful bill, right? That's huge for real estate owners. It basically fast tracks depreciation benefits, primarily to the front end. Instead of taking depreciation over a 27 and a half or 39-year depreciable schedule, you can take it, you can bifurcate it over a 7, 10, 15 year. So that's huge. And again, in the spirit of what we're both talking about, it's not only about generating income, but then mitigating the amount of taxes that you're going to be paying on that income, and that's where bonus depreciation comes into play. What I do and what Brett, both of us, we provide passive 1031 or non-1031 solutions that allow you to defer gains associated with your business, primary residence, investment property. And what we do is you go from any sort of active management, if you will, to completely passive management. And so there's a variety of different ways to accomplish that objective. I just ran out of words.
Yeah, you nailed it. I think that's exactly right? And you've got different ways to accomplish it. And so realize there's different options. There's also different buckets, right? You might want one like, hey, I do want this portion to be the 1031. I want to be active in this particular deal. I want this one to be a passive 1031, right? Like a syndicated or like a structured, Delaware statutory trust. And then I want this one to have flexibility with timing, right? So you can do these different buckets now. In other words, you don't have to just go from, active management to active deal or all no liquidity, even then, like, these interest rates aren't great and these cap rates aren't great. It's like this negative arbitrage situation. And so the 1031 doesn't look that great these days there's so many reasons why you want to have different options, right? So these are all these really cool things that we're talking about. And I hope you guys are catching all that. That being said, are you ready for something else, Ben, on that?
Well, I just want to say one thing. I didn't bring this up, but it's very important, and I could say this here because you're very in tune to the industry as well. The most important thing, or one of I would say the most important thing, is to work with advisors that know what they're doing. And I just want to bring this back to, I think, where I started, like my experience when I was crisscrossing the country and meeting with thousands of advisors and training and educating them on alternatives or 1031 exchanges or what to do, what not to do, the risks, the benefits. I'd walk out of, I would say 90%, maybe 95% of offices, and I would think, who in their right mind would give this person, this gentleman, this lady, their money? They got to be crazy. Not because, well, a couple things. Either they only want to close a transaction and close a deal for the money, right? They'll put anything in front of you that they think you'll buy, and they'll take. Or, the other 50%, we'll call it, of folks out there that their heart's in the right place, right? But again, they are proficient and experts in trading, in bonds and annuities and insurance. They don't know the first thing about real estate. And if they know anything about real estate, they definitely don't know anything about syndications. And that's what really, I got tired of the corporate world, but my passion was, look, I got to help these people. These people are baby boomers and seniors. They've worked their entire lives to build what they've had, and then they get paired up or get sold by, forgive me for saying it, some bozo. I mean, that's a horrible situation. And so, everything we're talking about, I think I just wanted to bring that up, Brett. Like, it's important to
I think
work
it's a
with
key
folks.
thing. Yeah, I call it this fish swimming out of water, right? If you made 90% of your wealth in real estate or a business, guess where you're going to sleep well at night? In the investment of the money, real estate or business. Now, it doesn't mean you need to be active in it. You need to trust the experts who are running these properties and running these businesses, right? But the idea that I've seen it over and over in our situation where somebody sells a multi-million-dollar exit, and all of a sudden it's all in the stock market that's dependent upon the political parties, dependent upon the wars, dependent upon interest rates and Powell not lowering, and all these different things that you just go, okay, like no wonder you haven't done it before, right? And no wonder it's not a great outcome. And so instead, it's a different mindset to say, oh no, you don't have to do that. In fact, you can just go into real estate, and it can be passive, and you can still get cash flow. We can go to real estate debt, and that's really the key. It's a slight degree shift, but you're right. You got to hire the team of experts who can help you with this. Look at it, devise a plan that suits your needs and suits your, I call it certainty of execution and being able to sleep well. And I call it no shoes, no shirt, no problem. You're Kenny Chesney playing your guitar, right? You got your glasses on, your hat, and at the beach, right? And you're singing the song, and you're like, wow, that money is just durable. It's cash flow and it's passive. It's just showing up every month. And I don't have any debt. I don't have any California, rent control laws. I don't have any adjustable rate mortgages. Yeah. I'm not running around with my hair on fire in 45 days to try to negotiate a deal with the seller who's just like, go pound sand because I don't have to give you anything right now. And wow, like what would that feel like? Put yourself there, no shooter, and it's still invested into real estate and it's passive. And oh, by the way, if you ever wanted to get back into real estate, I'll finish with this story. Yeah. Warren and Catherine, $2.5 million multi-unit property, Sacramento, 120 NOI. I said, look, we can get you 190. And I said, what do you really want though? We want time with our two twin daughters. Like their kids are 10 years old. They had them a little bit older in life. They go, we've got the millions now. We don't want to have Warren to drive back and forth to the property and deal with rent control and insurance costs is going through the roof, and all of Placerville almost burned down in a fire, and just all the things that just always are taking up the time and the energy. Right. And so we built the plan, and not only did we increase their NOI, but we decreased their risk. We paid off the debt, and we gave them back time with their family. Right. And oh, guess what? He can still go back and buy more real estate if he wants to. Yeah. So we're not saying forever just give it to this, a passive deal. We can keep a chunk into, S&P 500 if you want to, right? Or a chunk into real estate debt funds that pay out in 30, 60, 90 days if you raise your hand that have never not paid 10%. And we can build it in such a way where you can still get what you want, right? Without having to give up, the things that are kind of holding you back. So, or giving up things that are holding you back, right? So that's the last part here.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry. I was just saying and I think you would agree with this, Brett, like there's risk in everything, right? And mm-hmm. It's, there's risk in everything. You just have to build a portfolio or build this diversification strategies, and knowing that, something may get dislodged here or there at some point, right? Based on markets, you don't know what you don't know. But yeah, I haven't just bet you here, but I believe that, we build things, and communicate in such a way where we have safeguards in place, right? Mm-hmm. And so I just wanted to throw it out there. Everything I've been saying, at least, has been like amazing. It's just incredible. Yeah. And there's risk always, but we're pretty good at mitigating it.
100%. And if you want to learn more about anything we're talking about, I want you to first go to perchwealth.com to get connected with Ben Carmona. Solutions for your 1031 exchange without the hassle of day-to-day management. And he has curated a list of 1031 exchange replacement properties. And he is securities licensed, and he can help you through navigate the 1031 exchange as well as the Delaware Statutory Trust. And he's an expert in that, opportunity zones, private real estate funds. So he's more than just, one thing. He's providing you multiple solutions, which is totally what we're about here at Capital Gains Tax Solutions as well. And then if you want to learn more about the Deferred Sales Trust and how we can potentially even all work together to get a plan where you're diversifying, you can also reach out to me, Brett Swarts, by going to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Ben, we're totally out of time, and I'm back to back on another meeting. Yep. So any last words for the listeners that you want to share with them, and just remind them one last time what's the best place for them to find you?
No. This has been great. We'll stay in touch, Brett. No, thank you all for your time. I give out my cell phone number. It sounds crazy, but I will call you back. 818-269-4972. Perchwealth.com. We have 10 advisors nationwide, so we do business all over the country. And if you have, I don't care if you're thinking about selling or thinking about anything, we're happy to speak to you. We're big on education and advice, and so feel free to give us a shout. But Brett, I appreciate
Awesome.
your
Thanks,
time
Ben. I also want to thank all of our listeners for listening to the episode of the Build a Business podcast and Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast and YouTube channels. Hey, subscribe, share this with someone it could be a big impact for, and also look out for the book, Building a Capital Gains Tax Exit Plan, where we share the story of basically zero to all of this kind of knowledge that we shared a lot of it actually today with me and Ben, but you can check that out by going to Amazon or capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Thanks so much, everybody.
You have just listened to another information-packed episode of Capital Gains Tax Solutions with Brett Swarts. We hope you enjoyed today's show and found it helpful. Visit capitalgainstaxsolutions.com to access the show notes and to access more resources. Don't forget to leave a review and join us again next time.